Hello everyone, welcome everyone. This is Alberto from the Playconomics team, and I'm gonna today present a workshop to get you started with Playconomics. I am an associate professor of economics at the University of New South Wales, and I'm working closely with the team at University of Queensland as well to help with the game. I just want to give a quick introduction to say that I'm currently on sabbatical in Italy. That's why you can see that it's daytime at my end. And I wanted just to say welcome to everyone. And we understand that students are looking at this from very different parts of the world in very different conditions, possibly difficult one. We are here to help. That's the first thing we want to say. If you have any problems, please let us know, send us an email to support. Our objective is to make this assessment as stress-free as possible. If you have any issue, just let us know. If you have technical issues, if you have trouble playing with the video game, let us know. There are a lot of ways to get around any problems you might have, and working with the UQ team, with Lionel, we can just fix things very quickly. Just let us know and don't worry at all. I am going to touch on some of the website things to get started with the game. I'm going to show you how to access the ebook, and in particular how to see a quick introduction to the game and description in your ebook. Then I'm gonna quickly jump into the game to show you how to make marks, how the structure of the game is, and of course I'm gonna take your questions in the comment section. So please shoot. We have also Jung, our company artist that's joining us, and we are here to answer any question. We are very excited to deploy this version of the game, and we look forward to your comments, and just let us know how things go on your end. Okay, I'm gonna now switch from my big camera to my small camera down there, and I'm showing now the website playconomics.com, where you can start accessing your ebook and also the game. So I'm just gonna log in using my username and password, so you can do this as well on your end. I can see here a lot of courses because I have all of this in my database, but you're just gonna enter your course. And I'm making this video not just for University of Queensland, but also for courses here at UNSW. So if you watch this, please take that with a grain of salt, because this applies to a certain extent to different courses, and I will explain exactly what that means in terms of marks, scenarios, and things like that. Very well, so here you have the introduction to the course, and you can see we've got a nice download game button here, which I'm gonna show you in a second, and also a launch course online down there. So if I launch the course online, so I'm just gonna skip this for you and give you an example. This is an example from University of Queensland, but as I said, it might vary slightly depending on the course you're taking, but fundamentally all the information that I give you here will apply, so no stress and no problem there. You're gonna see under course review, we had a guide to the game section, which is just essentially pointing you to chapter 0 in your ebook, which is down here. So I'm gonna just fold that up and check out this chapter 0, the Playconomics game. Here you can see a couple of sections that we have already uploaded. The first one is the game, tips to get started. Here you're gonna find the link to this very workshop. And in fact, just as a note, we are gonna have more workshops as the term unfolds. We're gonna have another workshop for sure when we're gonna move from the practice period to the assessment period, but also I'm gonna do more workshop as needed. If you feel that you want more information, that you would like to have more contact with us, please do not hesitate to let us know, let your lecturer know, your team know, and we are gonna organize another session. But for sure, I'm gonna do one when the assessment period is actually starting. Here we have the instructions on how to access the game, which I'm gonna also show to you in a second. And maybe an important bit of information here about the settings. If your computer is seemingly struggling to run the game, don't worry, because you can change the setting. You should, in fact, reduce the resolution immediately if your computer is not supporting the current resolution. That will most likely solve all your problems, and the game will run just fine. It will also run just fine in any lab at your university. However, if you continue to have issues with performance, remember, we can work with you, and if it's really impossible for you to play the game at the level which is designed for, there are alternative forms of assessments that we can discuss with your team of lecturers. In other words, please just keep this channel of communication open. Send us an email to support@lionsartstudios.com, and we're gonna help you out. If you're not sure about how to contact us, ask your team of lecturers, and they will let you know. Performance is the first thing I want to talk about in case the game runs too slow, and then we have game modes. And at the moment, we are starting only with scenarios. We have a quick description of how scenarios are working, and I just want to say here that scenarios will be added as we proceed during the practice period. We're going to keep on adding scenarios, which give you more and more opportunities to gain marks. You can replay scenarios as many times you want to get the marks that you want. Speaking of course marks, this is the formula that we're going to use, and you can see that I have an X here because the exact limit on the amount of marks that you can get from the game is set at your specific course. So certain course might have no marks attached to the game, other course may have, say, 30 marks attached to the game. You will find this information in academia as well. I'm going to show you how to get it in a second. And what the calculation is simple. You take the scenario points that you've made in the game, you sum them up with the play coins, which is another form of points, explain everything later, and divide it by 15, and this is the equivalent amount of marks that is given to you based on the game points. In academia also, you can have a look at the game rewards tab up here, where you have the information about the current scenarios available to you and the points that you have already achieved. This was like a super quick look at this section here, tips to get started. Remember, you can watch this very workshop recorded here, and I'm also adding the new workshops coming up soon in this same place. It's just gonna be, I'm just gonna put a video under that very soon when we set the date for the next workshop. I'm also gonna do something right away after I finish doing this live video. I am going here, and in the description I'm gonna add some timestamps so that you can just open the video, look at the description, and go wherever you want to go without having to watch the entire thing, which may be lengthy in the end. Hopefully that helps with making this more accessible to you and more easily digestible. Very nice. We also have another section here that I'm going to click right there. This is the scenario session. You can see that in this part of the ebook we are just showing the leaderboards for the different scenarios that are currently available in the game. So you can see your colleagues already making points and hence mark in the game. There is also a comment section down here if you want to have a chat. We are also gonna keep an eye on this. If there is any question, please ask it away. We also have something here that we call the Playconomics game section in the ebook, where you can ask anything you like, and we are gonna answer here right away. And remember, if you have any technical issues, support@lionsartstudios.com, or before doing that, if you want, just leave a comment here and we are gonna get back to you. These are the basic up here in the progress page, and this again, grain of salt. Things here may change depending on the course you are enrolled on, but by and large, this is where you can find your scenario points count and your play coins count. And this is how, I mean, if you hover this question mark, you can see how these points are translating into course marks. Okay, this was a super quick look at the ebook. We just figured out where to get the information we need in chapter 0, tips to get started, link to this workshop, scenario, leaderboards to keep an eye on what your friends and colleagues are doing with the game, and to exchange any information we need in the comment section. And here we have also the Playconomics game, which is the perfect place to ask a question. We are gonna look at this and get back to you right away. In terms of the game itself, if we go back to this page, when we actually branched out to have a look at the ebook, you can see here that I've got a download button, so let's press that. And that takes me to this page here. You can download the game for Windows or for Mac. You can download as many times as you want, and in fact for as many platforms as you want. You can start playing the game on a Mac, close it, and then continue playing the game on a Windows computer using your same account, and it will work just fine. Do not worry about using multiple computers because the game is all saved up on our servers in order to ensure that all the data is secured and that it's not possible to cheat. So it doesn't really matter what computer you use because everything is run on the cloud, and you can switch and go with the platform that you find more comfortable. If your computer doesn't work, you could just as well try a different computer, go to the computer labs, and play from there. I also want to mention that for Windows, you gotta download the game and then unzip it. Really important, unzip it before you run the game, because otherwise it's not gonna work. Make sure you do that. When you download, it's basically done, and you're just gonna be able to get started with the game. What happens after you download the game? Well, you can then right-click it, press open, and launch it. And what you're gonna see when you launch it is this login sequence, where you can put the same username and password that you use to access your ebook. And I think at this point you should be familiar with that process. Here you're using the same username and password to get into the game. When you do that, you are not gonna see what I am seeing now because you have access only to one course. But I can see a bunch of them because I'm actually involved in all of them. But for example, for this course at UQ that you can see here, when I click, I get some specific information related to that specific course. In this case, we can see here that we are in the practice period. The game during the practice period is given to you for you to test, but all the progress that you make will be erased on September 1. So this is really just a test run for you to get familiar with it, understand how it works, and try to take the edge out if you are stressed out about this type of assessment. During this period, we are gonna do some server tests, and we are gonna continue to deploy more and more scenarios as the time goes. And finally, on September 5 at 15, we are going to open the assessment period, which will end on the 4th of October. So you have a month during which all the points that you accrued are gonna actually stay with you and will ultimately translate into your marks for this part of the assessment. Very well, this was just a little introduction. You can see here we have the multiplayer section is currently locked, and what we're going to focus on during the practice period is instead what we call scenarios. The scenarios are essentially like small levels that are designed to teach you how to play the game, but also to teach you the economic concepts at the same time. One of our principles is to try not to waste your time at any point. We know that someone is very passionate about video games, and some other people just want to get along with their course. We are trying to save you as much time as possible by giving you instructions on how to play the game while also teaching you fundamental economic concepts. Each scenario breaks down a game component, an economic concept, and can give you some marks. You can see that most of them are stars, which means they are regular scenarios, but some of them have this little trophy here, which means that they are tournament scenarios. They can be played in two modes, single player or tournament. I'm going to touch on that in a second because it affects in some way how you can gain marks from this type of scenarios. In fact, the tournament scenarios can give you double marks because you can play them in two different modes. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on them. When I click on any one of these scenarios, I've got the choice between easy mode and hard mode. You can hover to get more information. Essentially, easy mode lets you see what the objectives are in terms of what the other students have achieved in the level, guiding you and framing a little bit more for you the gameplay experience. If you want to play hard mode, you can. Those objectives are going to be hidden. But don't worry, because playing in easy mode or hard mode does not affect at all the marks that you are going to get from playing the scenario. So if you want to play easy mode, that's absolutely perfectly fine. My camera, it's in the way a little bit, so let's see if I can move it around, maybe just a tad. Right, so let's have a look at this. I'll just try to move this around a little bit. Oops, that was too much. Small camera is completely gone now, but that's okay. So I'm gonna continue. It's probably better for me not to be in the way anyway of your screen. So we're gonna just leave it like that for a second. Very well, so if I go into the first scenario, I can see the title, how much time it's gonna take, the level of difficulty that I'm expected to experience in this scenario. In this case, it's a simple one. Then I can see the scenario points. This level can give me up to 15 points, which really means this is a scenario that can earn me up to one course mark. So it's good investment for your time. Here you have a little description of what the scenario does, and as you can see, this can be detailed descriptions of the concepts that you're gonna learn, and what game mechanics also you are gonna learn as you play this. Very good. So let me jump into the first one, just to give you an idea of how this works. So now we are loading up into the game, so which is really good. There you have it. First of all, one thing to keep in mind is that these levels are completely self-contained. So all the information that you need to play this level is available in the level itself. You don't need any other tutorial. In this case, the first wizard is telling me to press the button D. You can also use the arrow keys in your computer to walk to my right. And so that's what I'm doing, walking to my right. And as I get close to one of these wizards, that dialogue pop up. And this dialogue in particular is more interesting because it has a little play button here, which allows me to skip through this dialogue and control where I go. While this happens, time, which you can see up here, is paused, allowing you to read this dialogue without wasting any of your scenario time. But if you want to unpause time, you can just press this button here, and time will start again. When you start listening to this wizard again, time stops again. If I move, time also continues as usual. Now I'm using WASD as the wizard suggested to move around. I can also press bar and do a little roll if I want to move faster. And this is an example of a level where we are really teaching you how to move around the world, but we are also giving you some information about what we mean in economics for factors of production. And we show some of the elements of the game, like, for example, workers, the labor component of the game. You can also find some hidden little dialogues if you want. Hey, what's going on here? You can see the concept of capital, for example, how we explain that in the game. The concept of entrepreneurship, someone starting a firm, for example. I'm gonna grab this apple. I just bought it. You can see up here that I bought it. It's explained in the logs. So everything I do is well explained and transparent. You can also see the objective up here, the one I was talking about. The objective in this level is to get 2.5 utils that you may or may not know at this point of the course, but utils is the way we measure happiness in economics, and it is the most the most important metric in these scenarios. Most of the time we use utility to determine the amount of points that you're gonna get from a scenario. Sometimes we use money, but really in economics, the final objective is for society to maximize happiness, which is expressed in utils or utility in the game as well. So you can see the objective here, and you can see how the other students that have played this level before have achieved those objectives, in this case by consuming apples. And if I click here, I get a breakdown of the objectives even more. So I'm gonna go on. Here is an example of what we call a quizard. These quizards are just asking you questions that relate to the scenarios that you have already played, that you have just played, and they give you a little something if you answer their questions correctly. So in this case, I'm gonna grab that apple. In order to consume things that I have here in my inventories, the 2 apples that I got, one bought from the shop and one got from the wizard, the quizard rather, I can click on this dinner table and put the apples down. This is basically like my stomach for the day, and as you probably know, in economics we talk about decreasing marginal utility over a certain given time frame, and this is really what determines how your happiness evolves as you eat more things during the day. More and more apples at the margin will give you less and less happiness, and this is how we capture that concept. And there are many ways to then finish up the scenario. You can speed up time if you want, or you can even just press the skip to end of a scenario button here and finish the scenario. At that point, we are gonna go to bed. In your bed, if there is one in the scenario, you're gonna see maybe a little recap from the wizard, and you're gonna have access to this panel here. You can see that we have my happiness. I did 1 out of 2.5, which was not fantastic. It's a 40% score. I didn't have any previous all-time best score to refer to, so I achieved this 6 points out of 15. I have claimed any points so far, so if I claim now, I'm gonna get 6 points. If you click on the question mark here, you are gonna see a breakdown of how we assign those points and what are the rules. So have a look at this. You can also instruct the game not to show this again if you want to skip it altogether, but have a look if you feel something is off with this panel, and there will be an explanation there for you. If you want to claim these points, you can just claim the rewards. When this happens, we actually take all the data that you have generated by playing this game, we put it on our server, and we verify it. And if everything is in order, we assign the points to you. Even if I haven't achieved full points here, I can replay and replay and replay this level as many times as I want in order to match that benchmark score. And when I do, I will be able to claim more and more points. Don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. You can have as many attempts as you want, and as you achieve a better score, you're going to be able to claim even more rewards in terms of scenario points. Now you can also replay the scenario from here, go back to the make menu, or you can have a look at the leaderboards. This leaderboard shows the score obtained by your colleagues previously, the highest score ever achieved in this particular level. Some levels are simple, like this one. Everyone is kind of getting it right the first time, probably, and getting full points right away, except I didn't. Oops, sorry about that. But some levels may be a little more open-ended. The question could be a little more interesting and big. And in these levels, you will see that there's going to be a distribution, and students are going to essentially compete with each other for the top score. We are going to use the best score ever achieved by a student as the benchmark. In this case, that score is 2.5 happiness for the day. You can also have a look at the session happiness. What happened, in this case, it was just me, because this is not a tournament scenario, but it could also involve other students sometimes. So, but generally speaking, this is the leaderboard that you want to look at. This was just a taste of how the game plays. It's, as I said, fully self-explanatory. You just start the game and you're going to learn all the details. Going through the various scenarios, you're going to learn different things, like the cost-benefit principle. You're going to learn how to make consumption decisions, opportunity cost, and the production possibility curve. I just want to go to this one in particular because, as I said, this is the first tournament scenario. I'm going to go in easy mode. You can see, because this is a tournament scenario, I can make points by playing solo, single player, but I can also make points by playing this in tournament mode. I'm going to just play easy mode because it doesn't matter. And just by clicking on that, I'm going to be teleported to the level itself. I can always zoom in and zoom out if I want in this game. This is a scenario where the wizard here is instructing me how to consume. For example, I could just go to this table and, I mean, in fact, I could even walk to this guy and see what's the price of a coconut and then purchase a coconut. That's it, done. However, I can also do something a little bit different, which is, oh, look, these are other students. This is an example as a tournament scenario where other students are coming and buying some things. So this is, as I'm going to show you in a second, these are not actually live students playing the game right now. They are bots created by other students, which is exactly what we refer to as tournament mode. In this case, they're just making their decisions, interacting with me through the market, even if they're not live with me in a multiplayer sense, but asynchronously, we are now playing a multiplayer session. You can create what we call ideas, where instead of just doing things manually, like keep on buying that coconut or that red berry, you can also program your agent to do certain things. The wizard is going to give you all the details, but long story short, you can put this together in this way, for example, actually this way, and basically instruct your character to produce the thing that's going to give the maximum utility. And there the character goes purchasing things that are giving them the max utility. You can also see your idea by clicking on this button here, and this is the shopping list that I just created. It is a way to very simply use the economic concepts and build economic ideas, economic automation. It's very second nature and very simple, but it includes and adds an interesting layer of complexity to the game. In this level, as usual, you will be instructed to walk around, and I like rolling a lot because it makes things faster. You have the wizard, you have the red wizard, which always gives you explanation about the theory behind the model. In this case, it's the idea of thinking at the margin and making marginal decision about consumption, keeping in mind that too much of something good might become something bad, and so as you consume more and more of a certain good, you might end up liking it less and less at the margin. So have a look at this if you want to understand exactly how this fits into the world. This is my room in this case. And this is the house of the other students that have done their shopping, as you can see here. Good on them. They bought good stuff. I can always right click on my character to see more information. In this case, how much money I have, the happiness that I've gained, and so on and so forth. Okay, now I can finish up this scenario as usual by speeding up time or just skipping to the end of the scenario. And I'll probably do that just to be super clear about. In fact, I'm just gonna skip, just to be super clear about one thing. I didn't do that well relative to my to the other colleagues that have played this game. I can access the leaderboards and see that as well here. This is the points that I can claim, but I also have the option here to go into tournament mode. When I go into tournament mode, I don't have any manual control over my character. So my character here is just gonna repeat the things that they did using the automation system. So they're gonna go and purchase the coconut in a second, and this will happen automatically. This is a level field, see? A level field type of exercise where I am competing with other students on a really level field, in the sense that we all just created our automations, our ideas, our bots, and then we let the bots loose, compete in a sense, for the top score in the level. Of course, in this particular level, it's about consumption, and it's not a big deal. There's no direct competition, but you can imagine later scenarios where you could compete as an entrepreneur or in other ways with other students. And I can get separate rewards for playing this particular form of mode for the scenario. And so I'm claiming now, so I can show you in a second. I made some point now for the tournaments mode, and I can also go back to the standard mode just by pressing the button. And in standard mode, I can start the tournament mode again at any time just by clicking here. And there's an explanation on what this really means, starting the tournament mode, but I think at this point I made it relatively clear. Here you can see, for example, that there are multiple objectives in this level. Students that have gotten the top score have consumed both coconuts and blueberries, and you can see the breakdown here if you want to have a look and try to understand this a little bit better. As you can imagine, here we are introducing various concepts: demand, supply, using game mechanics, and this idea that we don't want you to spend a lot of time on this game grinding and clicking and doing things like that. We want at a certain point to also allow you to create these bots that are doing things following economic principles and see the impacts in the simulated world. Very well. I can always go back to the main menu by clicking here. Here you have also, as I was saying, the display settings. If you want to reduce the resolution, this is my laptop, and one of the new Apple laptops with crazy resolution. It works just fine. But if you want to reduce the resolution, you can by accessing this screen here. You can also eliminate the ground texture if you want. That saves a little bit of performance as well. And I suggest you to keep the quality to lowest because it doesn't make a big difference to the game experience, but it's going to save you a lot in terms of performance. Very well. We also have audio to control things. And if you are, for example, offline all of a sudden, but you need to log back in, you can use this menu too. And if you ever want to send us an email to support, you may want to sometimes open your log folders and give us the log of your game so we can know exactly how to help you. Very well. This is almost everything I wanted to talk about today. It's almost 42 minutes into this workshop. This may be a good time to ask you if there is any questions. It seemed like things are going well from what I can see on my end. No questions is good for me. It means that everything is clear and straightforward. So no need to ask questions, but if you want to, please shoot. We are here to answer anything that is crossing your mind. I might give an example of this scenario. For example, the chapter 9 scenario, it's a demand and supply scenario where you are actually impersonating the mayor. And as you know, this is something that we think about a lot in economics. What should be the optimal policy? Should the government interfere with the prices in the market? What is the right set of prices that maximizes the economy's happiness? In this level, we are doing exactly that. So this is me at this point. The mayor, you can see I'm very fancy. There you have it. If I click here, we open what we call the market UI. All this is explained in game as well. And in this level, super simple, you can see that we have only one good, which is this, the blueberry. And I have the option here of changing the price. You can see that supply is very high at this point at 13 units, demand is very low. What should I do to fix this? Well, maybe I can adjust the price. You can think that the mayor is using, for example, price ceiling or price floor, or right away force a certain price on the market in this particular scenario, to try to understand how to match demand and supply. And I can, like, for example, say if supply is too high, maybe the good is too good for suppliers, in the sense too attractive. So let's lower the price so we can get demand a little bit higher and supply a little bit lower. Oh, that's it. At $12, I got demand and supply exactly equal. There's also the labor market here that you can see on the left. You can see the recipe for production of blueberries, government policies attached to it. And if I open this graph here, I can see the demand and supply that I just generated by changing the price here. This is very cool because it ties up everything that we have talked about so far. These buyers and these sellers are using the same automation that I've discussed 1 second ago when talking about the consumption decision. In other words, this is economic logic that you have developed in the previous levels. Now you can see that when the price changes, the ideas, the automation of these buyers and sellers is automatically changing, following the logic of those bots as they were created. And that creates a change for them in the way they demand and supply things. And if we plot it, it actually corresponds to the classic, more or less, demand and supply graph that you've seen in class. The game essentially takes you from actually making these automations, these algorithms to maximize happiness, and then see how they are affected, for example, by changing in prices. I think the best approach here was to increase the price a little bit more, because otherwise there's going to be too much demand. There you have it. The market is going to close in this amount of time that you can see up here. But I can skip this altogether. That's it. And now the market is open and production is happening in the economy. And if we stayed a little bit longer here, you would see production taking place, and you would see that this UI is gonna get populated. Demand is, this bar is gonna be filled as things have been sold, and this bar is gonna be filled as well as things are gonna be produced and put on. Okay, so production is starting, as you can see at this time. So let's go inside there for us to have a peek at what they're doing. They're producing blueberries, putting on the trade table, and then you're probably going to see also people demanding that, going to purchase that. So okay, production happens. They're putting it in the storage, and then in the inventory, a concept that's very important in macro, the inventory. You're going to see some of it, and you can see that we fulfilled exactly the demand and supply. Everything is in equilibrium. Of course, the question for you is, was this the optimal price that maximizes the utility for society? because that's in fact the objective of this specific level. And part of what you're doing here is exploring that economic questions, that type of economic question, and see and try to understand why a certain set of price may be optimal for society in terms of maximizing the utility for society overall. Further levels will give you more goods, so you're going to be able to see things like the substitution effects, and later on we even talk about the labor market and how that, through the income effect, affects how an economy adjusts when there is a change in price. It will get much more complicated because a little change in price here will affect all the substitutes, and a change in wage is going to affect demand. It will allow you to revisit what you studied in class in terms of demand and supply in a way that it's way more experiential, and it's also going to expose how much more complex things can be when you actually run this as a simulation. You can see that I've done pretty well for myself. I got 100% score, so I'm going to claim that. And this was an example of a market scenario that we also have in the game. Back to the main menu, this has been verified, so I can delete this. This is a great UI that tells you what you've done before. And back to the main menu, you can see that I have achieved 15 points in the tournament version here. I have achieved 30 points here for this chapter. If I went back to academia, I would see that, you know, in a little while, it takes a few minutes, but it would, and this is not actually my personal account, so this wouldn't show here, but it will show in your page down here. Okay, I'm gonna wait just a little bit longer to see if there is any further question. But I'm really happy to see people coming in the live session. So clearly there is interest in getting to know the game. And no questions, which really means in this case is that things are clear and you are ready to go. I'm gonna wait maybe just 2 more seconds to make sure that everyone is good to go and there is no further question, just to give you a little bit of time if there is anything that's crossing your mind. But on my end, I have covered everything that I wanted to. No questions, perfect. I'm seeing people responding. Well, at this point, I think I can wrap it up. It's 50 minutes into the workshop, so it's a good time to stop. As I said, I'm gonna put timestamps. You can send us an email at any time. If you have any sort of problem, just let us know. We're gonna fix it immediately. This is a very low stress assessment, easygoing, and we are here to help in any way we can. As I said at the beginning, we understand that there are many people listening to this that may be going through difficult moments, and the last thing we want is to add any stress to this. On behalf of the Playconomics team, all our developers, designers, educational teams in various universities, thanks a lot for watching this. We look forward to interacting with you as much as possible. And I am personally looking forward to seeing you all again when the assessment period starts with another workshop. And in the meantime, all the best from the Playconomics team. Have a fantastic day. Take care of yourself and see you very, very soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks a lot for coming.